All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're taking a structured, sequential tour through Chapter 2 of the Tajik Constitution. Now, if you really want to understand the ultimate contract between the individual and the state, well, this is exactly where you look. We're going to go article by article, unpacking the rights, the freedoms, and the fundamental duties of the citizen to see exactly what's guaranteed on paper.
To make sense of these 34 crucial articles, here's our roadmap. We've broken it down into 6 parts: foundations of citizenship, life, liberty, and justice, privacy, movement, and belief, political and civil rights, social and economic rights, and finally, duties in state of emergency.
Let's kick things off with Part 1, Foundations of Citizenship.
Looking at the original text of Articles 14 through 16, Article 14 establishes something absolutely vital right out of the gate. It says constitutional rights are directly applicable, meaning they aren't just polite suggestions. They define the actual, literal purpose of the law. Plus, these rights can only be legally limited for very specific extreme reasons. Think protecting the rights of others, maintaining public order, defending the state, or protecting public health and morals.
Now, Articles 15 and 16 draw a really fascinating, clear line between citizens and non-citizens, while still guaranteeing fundamental human rights across the board. For a Tajik citizen, dual citizenship is generally a no-go, unless it's specifically stated by an international treaty. But the state absolutely guarantees your protection even when you're abroad, and explicitly bans extraditing a citizen to a foreign state. On the flip side, foreign nationals and stateless persons, they still enjoy equal basic rights and share the same responsibilities. The Constitution even makes room for political asylum for foreigners who are facing human rights violations back home.
Moving right along to Part 2, Life, Liberty, and Justice. As we get into Articles 17 to 23, we hit the real heavyweight provisions defending human existence and fairness in the justice system. These are the articles standing firmly between the individual and potential abuses of power.
Article 17 guarantees total equality before the law and the court. It strictly prohibits discrimination based on nationality, race, sex, language, religion, or social status. And yes, it explicitly states that men and women have equal rights. Right on its heels, Article 18 declares the absolute right to life. It guarantees personal inviolability, totally forbidding any form of torture, cruel treatment, or forced medical and scientific experiments. No exceptions.
Grouping Articles 19, 20, and 21 together, we get this incredible chronological wall of protection for the accused. Step 1. The very second you're arrested, Article 19 guarantees your right to a lawyer. Step 2 ensures your case has to be heard by a competent, independent, and impartial court. Step 3 brings in Article 20, the presumption of innocence. You are simply not guilty until a court legally says you are. Step 4 ensures absolute fairness, no double jeopardy. So you can't be punished twice for the same crime, and laws that make punishments harsher cannot be applied retroactively. Finally, Step 5, Article 21 pivots to the victims, guaranteeing state protection and financial compensation for the damages they've suffered.
All right, let's step out of the courtroom and into Part 3, Privacy, Movement, and Belief.
Articles 22 through 26 essentially build a massive privacy block. Article 22 makes your home legally inviolable, meaning no forced entry without highly specific legal grounds. Article 23 locks down the privacy of your correspondence and phone calls. It strictly bans anyone from collecting, storing, or spreading data about your private life without your explicit consent. Then, under Article 24, you've got the total freedom to travel, choose where you live, and leave or return to the country as you please. Article 25 is all about transparency, giving you the absolute right to see state documents that affect your personal rights. And wrapping up this block, Article 26 grants you the freedom to choose your religion, practice it alone or with a group, or honestly, choose to practice no religion at all.
Next up, Part 4, Political and Civil Rights.
As we dive into Articles 27 through 31, we find the actual definitions of civic power. These articles design the entire framework for how the public's voice is heard, organized, and ultimately applied to the state apparatus.
These sequential articles really give you a comprehensive toolkit for participation. Article 27 guarantees equal access to civil service and gives every single citizen the right to vote starting at age 18. Article 28 ensures you can freely form and join political parties or trade unions. Need to make your voice heard in public? Article 29 protects your right to peaceful assemblies, rallies, and demonstrations. Crucially, Article 30 guarantees freedom of speech in the press, explicitly banning state censorship and any persecution for criticism.
Finally, Article 31 ensures you can formally appeal directly to state authorities, whether you do it on your own or with a group.
Let's shift gears a bit to Part 5, Social and Economic Rights.
Articles 31 through 38 lay out the socioeconomic foundation of the entire nation. We're talking about a vast range of daily life here, extending all the way from property ownership in Article 32 right through to healthcare guarantees in Article 38.
Looking closely at Articles 32 through 36, we start seeing some very clear economic and domestic guarantees. Article 32 protects your right to own and inherit private property. Basically, the state cannot take it without your consent and full financial compensation. Article 33 establishes the family as the true foundation of society, guaranteeing equal rights in marriage and divorce while explicitly banning polygamy. Article 34 mandates state care for mothers, children, and orphans. Now, when it comes to your livelihood, Article 35 is a big one. It guarantees the right to work, mandates that wages absolutely cannot fall below the minimum wage, ensures equal pay for equal work, and strictly prohibits forced labor. Article 36 then solidifies your right to housing through various forms of construction.
Articles 37 to 41 outline the welfare state aspects of the Constitution. Article 37 guarantees your right to rest, which means regulated work weeks and annual paid holidays. Gotta love that. Article 38 provides the right to free basic medical care in state institutions. If you're elderly, sick, or disabled, Article 39 ensures you have a Social Security safety net. Article 40 protects your freedom to participate in cultural and scientific life, and it throws in legal protection for intellectual property, too. Finally, Article 41 makes basic general education both free and completely compulsory.
And finally, we arrive at Part 6, Duties and State of Emergency.
This final stretch of Chapter 2 balances that long, expansive list of rights we just talked about with 4 very specific civic obligations. Plus, it sets the ground rules for how the nation handles existential crises. Because remember, a constitution is ultimately a two-way street. Articles 42 through 45 lay out your reciprocal contract with the state. Under Article 42, you are obligated to follow the laws and respect the rights of others, specifically pointing out that ignorance of the law is absolutely no excuse. Article 43 makes protecting the motherland and serving in the military a sacred duty. Article 44 requires you to step up and protect nature and historical monuments. And of course, Article 45 mandates the payment of established taxes, though it notably states that new tax laws cannot be applied retroactively to burden the taxpayer. Fair is fair.
Now, the crucial point regarding the final 2 articles, 46 and 47, is how they handle major crises. Article 46 allows the state to declare a state of emergency during natural disasters or direct threats to the state. But it strictly limits that to a maximum of 3 months, unless the president officially extends it. But look at Article 47. This is the ultimate failsafe. It clearly states that even during a declared state of emergency, certain foundational rights are non-derogatable. That means your right to life, your equality before the law, your freedom from torture, and your right to a fair trial. They can never, under any circumstances, be suspended.
So, as we wrap up this article-by-article breakdown, I'll leave you with this. When the state guarantees your absolute liberty but also demands your mandatory service, who truly holds the power when a crisis hits? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning and keep exploring the frameworks that silently dictate our lives.